Hey Snapchat, today I'm going to talk to you about funnel management and how you can use it as a metaphor to be more successful at sales, at fundraising, at recruiting, you name it. Thinking in a funnel metaphor will help you in all scenarios. The concept is really simple, but I'll explain it in more details. You have a top end of your funnel, a middle end, and a bottom end of your funnel. The top end of your funnel are recent people engaged in the process. The middle are people a little bit qualified, and the bottom are people you're trying to close. So I'm first going to go through an example of fundraising, then I'm going to go through an example of recruiting, and then sales. I talk to startups all the time who have an initial meeting with a VC, and here's what they tell me. I had a great meeting. I'm really excited. I think they're really leaning in. I think there's a good chance we're going to close them. I follow up with some basic sales qualification questions like how many partners at the meeting, how senior was the person you meet, what is the next step in the process. Then I come to find out that they don't know the answer to any of these questions, and then I know there's a typical sales problem. See, the top end of your funnel in fundraising, if you're raising from a VC fund, is super easy. Here's why. Most VCs want to keep a relationship with the companies they meet, so the first meeting they have usually goes reasonably well. So what you heard was, oh, we're about to write you a check, and what they thought was, I don't know, I meet a lot of companies. The only way to know if they're really engaging is to try and drive them down into the funnel and qualify them. The way you do this is by assigning them to do more work or to engage more. If they don't engage, they're not moving down the funnel. Moving a VC down the funnel is engaging in a second meeting, or them reviewing your data, or using your product, or engaging in customer calls. If a VC has engaged you a little bit, you need to move them further down the funnel by getting them to agree to a partner meeting. In VC speak, a partner meeting is usually the buying meeting. That's where they're going to start making real decisions. But coming out of the partner meeting, even if they lean in and say they're interested, you still don't have a deal done. In most sales forecasting systems, until you actually have terms agreed and you're starting to work on a contract, you're not near the bottom of the funnel. Different things happen to you at different stages of the funnel. VCs act very differently. Let me give you some examples. It's not atypical at the top end of the funnel for a VC to go silent on you for a week or two. Here's why. VCs are usually evaluating 5-10 deals all at the same time, so they're busy doing a bunch of stuff, not to mention managing their portfolio companies. Like any sales campaign, it's your job to slowly prompt that VC and try and get them more engaged, move them down the funnel. If they've made some commitments to you in the middle phase of the funnel, you actually should be seeing work getting done. That's a sign that you're in the middle stage of the funnel. And the best test of whether you're at the bottom end of the funnel is you should see a lot of frenzied activity back and forth. That's what's known as a buying signal. If you don't see a lot of frenzied activity at the very end of your VC process, something is likely going wrong. You don't go for a week or 2 weeks of no contact and then suddenly get a term sheet. The reason you see frenzied activity at the bottom end of the funnel, whether it's a VC meeting or whether it's a sales process, is that's when the VC internally is trying to build tons of support and answer the questions of maybe the CFO or the managing partner. The equivalent, if you're selling to a company, is that's when they're trying to get legal sign-off or finance sign-off or budgeting sign-off or answer the detractors. So know what your buying signals are, whether it's a VC process or a sales process. A big mistake I see founders make is not asking people what is the next step in your process. VCs don't think in funnels, but they certainly do understand their process to get approval for a deal. So here's what I recommend. Say politely to a VC, listen, I would just love to understand a little bit better what your process is. What is the next step for you? If they're unwilling to be open and transparent about the process they have to go through, they simply aren't showing you any buying signals. Your job as a founder is to make sure you have deals of, let's say, VCs at multiple stages of the funnel. If you have just one VC engaged and they're at the bottom end of the funnel and you're not taking new meetings to add to the top of your funnel, then you're completely screwed if that VC doesn't close, or maybe you end up signing bad terms. I'm not saying that it's easy to get multiple VCs to the table. All I'm saying is if you have VCs leading in, that doesn't mean you should stop taking a few early first meetings. You don't want it to get out of market that you're meeting way too many VCs, but just think about that. Think about how do we keep some more people in the funnel in case things drop out. At the risk of things running long, I want to explain a funnel in terms of recruiting and a classic mistake people make in their recruiting process. If you're running an executive recruiting process or you're running the process yourself and you find the candidate you like, the classic mistake founders make is they stop talking to new candidates. But here's what happens. Sometimes during the final reference checking or negotiation with a candidate, you're just not totally convinced that's the right hire. But unless you have more people that were working through the top end or the middle end of the funnel, sometimes you just feel emotionally obligated to close anyway. This happens especially when you work with executive recruiters who just want to be done with the process. That's why I stick with my ABR model. Always be raising, always be recruiting. Always have people at multiple stages in the process. And when you start to think about recruiting, when you start to think about fundraising as just the sales process, it'll help you manage it more methodically. And this is exactly how sales reps think. So when you're talking with your team or your existing investors about how your fundraising process is going, I find it's a very healthy metaphor to think about which stage in the funnel they're in and how you move them from top to bottom.